recently in the news, we've seen a number of really big evangelical leaders and church leaders like come out. And after like 30 years, we find out that they did something real foul when they were younger, or it wasn't disclosed, or we can see leaders on the edge of that. We're just waiting to hear what is it, right? And it goes to that you can keep on putting on those clean clothes. Eventually, though, you'll be so foul, it'll come out. Like people will, they'll start to smell it, and then they'll realize, man, you were foul. And this is what we want leaders to deal with, because that dirtiness, that foulness, when you're not dealing with the inside stuff and you just continue to put on stuff, you can do that for a really long time. Yeah. And that's what makes me nervous, is you can do that for a long time. You can look a certain way. You can grow things. You can, from the outside, look like a real successful leader. Yeah. But you're foul on the inside. And eventually that'll come out. And this is what our problem is. It comes out and then it de-evangelizes all the work. It now God's good and all that, but it deconstructs and destroys all the stuff that you did in the name of Jesus. Yeah. And so we have to deal with it.
Well, to push that analogy even further, who are the ones who actually notice the stench? It's those that are closest to you. Yeah. Or those that you decide to get close to, right? Because if you're just doing this from afar, chances are you can go a long time without anybody noticing the stench.
You can.
Right? And which is why I think also a lot of leaders tend to isolate themselves. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of that, right? Because they know that if they let people in too close, they might get a glimpse of who you really are.
Man, shoot, this is a whole nother episode, brother, because the other thing that happens too is then you create a culture of not showering and putting on clean clothes.
Oh, yeah. And then everybody
else starts doing that. And so then secrets get created. Everybody's using potpourri.
Yeah.
And it stinks. So anyway, but
yeah, we could go on and on with this analogy, preachers and sneakers. I mean, come on. Let's talk about focusing on the clothes and not the content.
Okay, 7 internal struggles.
Yeah. Key internal struggles. There probably are more, but we want to focus on these 7 key internal struggles.
All right. What's the first one?
Well, let me tell you the 7, and then we'll jump into the first one.
Sounds good.
So the 7 are humility, self-confidence, vulnerability, praise, or at least how we handle praise, imposter syndrome, that's a big one, fear, and then perfectionism. Yeah. So those are the 7 key internal struggles I think that all leaders go through. So let's dive into the first one. Again, we want to talk about not just what the struggle is and how it affects us and the people around us, but also what can we do about it to become a healthier leader. So the first one is humility. So Tommy, I think you're the perfect person to answer this. That wasn't sarcastic, by the way.
That's weird.
What is humility?
We have some notes written in here, right? So Rick Warren talks about humility in the Purpose Driven Live. He talks about humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. For me, humility it's the tension between understanding. Honestly, it's living in the tension of going, I am actually made in the image of God. And that's a really important thing. And it's huge. I'm created like God. That's wow. And I'm a sinner. And humility for me is to be able to accept both of those truths and walk in the middle and hold the tension between that in every moment of my day. And so how do I do that and look like, behave and speak and act, and more importantly, think that way, where I can live in the tension of those things.
Yeah. So if I could just distill that down to a tagline, because I love that, is the idea that humility is the recognition that I am created, not self-created.
Yeah, that's right. That's
right.
Beautiful.